Now start the program, sir. Over to comparing team.
A delightful good afternoon to one and all present here. Enjoy this known as there is much more in life that awaits your presence. We are virtually gathered here for the orientation program about role of analytics in business. First, I call upon Ms. G. Shalini from First MBA to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Shalini.
Thank you, Naveen. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of Knowledge Business School and Knowledge Institute of Technology, I am very pleased to welcome you all for Analytic Club Orientation Program. On the topic Role of Analytics in Business. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. A warm and hearty welcome our wonderful chief guest, Mr. S. Bhanukumar, founder and director, ARRA Associates, has graced his presence and shared his valuable time with us. Thank you, sir, and we welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome our respected founder and principal Dr. P.S.S. Srinivasan, sir, of Knowledge Institute of Technology, who has constantly supporting to organize these kinds of program. Welcome you, sir. Next, I welcome Dr. P. Suresh Kumar, sir, mentor and director, Research and Development, Knowledge Business School. We welcome you, sir. Next, I am glad to welcome Director Dr. A. Stephen, sir, Knowledge Business School. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I am glad to welcome Mr. N.C. Balachandran, sir, Senior Consultant Placement for Knowledge Institute of Technology and Knowledge Business School. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Last but not least, I sincerely welcome heads from various departments, faculty members, supporting staffs, and my student friends. You all strong and smart. Once again, I welcome everyone to the orientation program. Thank you. Over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Shalini. Now I would like to call Mr. S. Sam Barnaba from First MBA, the chief guest introduction. Over to you, Sam.
Good afternoon, all. Here I am delighted to introduce our chief guest, Mr. S. Bhanukumar. He is the founder director of ARRA Associate, who has the motto of 3 E's: educate, enable, enhance the students. He is a technology expert who has 3 decades of hands-on expertise in automation, identification, and data capture, data analytics, data cloud, infrastructure delivery. He is in a part of multiple social forums as a part of committee, special interest groups, NIPM, ISTD, S2S. Currently, he is a visiting faculty in Crescent Engineering College and an adjunct faculty in Karunya University, Coimbatore. He is a member of MMA and regular trainer, mentor of entrepreneurs, yes, IIT, HIH Rural Entrepreneurship, social contributor of NGO, participation in Project Putri, mentor of data science in Upgrade and AIM, Udacity mentor for nano degree programs. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invite, and I ensure this program will be profitable for everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Sam. Now participants are requested to switch on your video for capturing the moment.
Completed, sir. Over to comparing team.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite our supporting and uplifting director, Dr. A. Stephen, sir, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so pleased to be part of the interaction of today's topic, role of analytics in business. So happy that Analytics Club of Knowledge Business School have arranged the program, role of analytics in business. And first and foremost, let me welcome Mr. S. Bankumar sir, founder and director, ARRA Associates, for the live webinar at KBSS. We welcome you, sir, once again for the webinar of MBA students. When it comes to Bankumar sir has got a lot of corporate experiences and also doing consultancy to various organizations, active member of MMA, such a versatile speaker, full of content and research and expertise. We are happy that Sir has accepted to orient MBA students. I'm sure Sir contribution to MBA students will add a lot of value and expertise to our MBA students so that they can enhance the skill sets in data analytics and they could be better placeable students. When it comes to knowledge of technology, Bandukumar sir has got a great association with the knowledge of technology, with the principal sir, with the Balachandra sir, and all the senior professionals of knowledge institutions. I'm sure his association will be fruitful to the benefit of the KBC students. Welcome sir once again for this orientation. Dear students and analytics in business, data analytics, you'll be certain extent aware of data analytics. Yesterday we had a executive interaction program where Mr. S. Sureshar, GM Human Resource, Region Power Tech Private Limited, Chennai, spoke to you on those yesterday's interaction about HR as a profession. Our பேசிட்டு ஒரு வார்த்தை சொன்னாரு, what are the skill sets required to be an HR அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு செவன்த் ஸ்கில் செட்ஸ் அவர் என்ன சொன்னாரு, டேட்டா அனலிட்டிக்ஸ் அப்படின்னு மாதிரி ஒரு வார்த்தையை சொன்னாரு. He also quoted an example. உதாரணத்துக்கு ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன்ல ஒரு லாஸ்ட் இயர் அரௌண்ட் 50 எம்ப்ளாயிஸ் ரிசைன் அப்படின்னா அவங்க எதுக்காக ரிசைன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, என்ன காரணம், என்ன பர்பஸ்க்காக ரிசைன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, வாட் இஸ் த கரண்ட் சேலரி, வாட் ஆர் த காம்படிட்டர் சேலரி, அங்கே என்ன மாதிரியான ப்ரொமோஷன் கிடைக்குது, feedback and lots such things need to be analyzed. அதுக்கெல்லாம் என்ன தேவை அப்படின்னா டேட்டா அனலிட்டிக்ஸ் இஸ் required. அது வந்து எமர்ஜிங் டெக்னாலஜி, எமர்ஜிங் ஏரியா. Lot of companies in recent times are expecting these skill sets from the MBA students. இந்த ப்ராப்ளம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா பானுகுமார் சார் will be touching on very aspects. குறிப்பாக பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டேட்டா அனலிட்டிக்ஸ் அண்ட் டேட்டா விஷுவலைசேஷன் பற்றி அவர் நிறையா சொல்வார். ஓகே, ஒரு கம்பெனி வந்து சக்சஸ் ஆகணும்னா கண்டிப்பாக ரெவன்யூ இஸ் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், ப்ராஃபிட் இஸ் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், கஸ்டமர் சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷன் இஸ் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். அவைலபிள் டேட்டாவை வைத்துக்கொண்டு எந்த அளவுக்கு நம்ம ப்ராஃபிட் அச்சீவ் பண்ணலாம், கஸ்டமர் சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷன் ரைட் பண்ணலாம், ரெவன்யூ கெயின் பண்ணலான்ற விஷயத்தை தான் சார் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ண போறாரு. அந்த காலகட்டத்தில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டேட்டா இஸ் அ ஸ்கேர்ஸ், அந்த அளவுக்கு டேட்டா இருக்காது. ஆனால் அட் ப்ரெசன்ட் டைம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டேட்டா இஸ் அபண்டன்ட் அண்ட் சர்ப்ளஸ். உதாரணத்துக்கு சொல்ல போனோம்னா ஒரு 20 years முன்னாடி ஒரு எஜுகேஷன் ஃபீல்ட்ல வந்து பிஹெச்டி டாக்டரல் ப்ரோக்ராம் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா we have to go to the library. அங்க என்ன மாதிரியான புக் இருக்கு, எந்த மாதிரியான ரிசோர்ஸல் புக் இருக்கு, அதுல போய் உட்காந்து நோட்ஸ் எடுத்து ஜெராக்ஸ் எடுத்து அப்படிதான் ரிசர்ச் பண்ண முடியும் 20 years பிஃபோர், 2 decades பிஃபோர். ஆனா இப்பெல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ப்ரொவைடட் தேர் இஸ் இன்டர்நெட் கனெக்டிவிட்டி, அந்த மாதிரியான ரிசோர்சஸ் அவைலபிளா இருந்துச்சுன்னா நம்ம வீட்டில் உட்காந்துட்டே வந்து நம்ம என்ன மாதிரியான இன்ஃபர்மேஷனும் நம்ம வந்து கெயின் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அதுதான் பாத்தீங்கன்னா டேட்டா அவைலபிலிட்டி இஸ் அபண்டன்ஸ். நம்ம எந்த விதத்துல டேட்டா மேனேஜ் பண்றோம், டேட்டாவை சோர்ஸ் பண்றோம், ஃபில்டர் பண்றோன்றதுல பொறுத்து தான் சக்சஸ் இருக்கு. உதாரணத்துக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா எப்ஸ்கோ இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் சர்வீசஸ் ஆகட்டும், வெப் ஆஃப் சயின்ஸ் ஆகட்டும், ப்ரோக்வெஸ்ட், டைரக்டரி ஆஃப் ஓப்பன் அக்சஸ் ஜர்னல், ஸ்கோப்பர்ஸ், கூகுள் ஸ்காலர், இதெல்லாமே ஆம்பிள் ரிசோர்சஸ். இது மூலமா பயன்படுத்தி வீட்டில் இருந்துகிட்டே நம்ம வி கேன் ஹேவ் அக்சஸ் டு மெனி ஆஃப் த டேட்டா. அந்த மாதிரி விஷயத்த நம்ம இந்த கிளாஸ்ல பார்க்க போறோம். கண்டிப்பாக இட் வில் ஆட் லாட் ஆஃப் வேல்யூ. நம்ம வந்து எப்போதுமே இண்டஸ்ட்ரி இன்ஸ்டியூட் இன்டர்ஃபேஸ் அப்படின்றத நம்ம சொல்றோம். குறிப்பா எம்பிஏ இன்ஸ்டியூஷன்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தே கிவ் மச் இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் டு த இண்டஸ்ட்ரி இன்ஸ்டிடியூட் அசோசியேஷன். நம்ம கேஐஓடியும் we have a abundance and surplus of industry institute interface அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு ஒன் ஆஃப் த இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஃபேக்டர் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா த பிரசன்ஸ் ஆஃப் மிஸ்டர் பாலச்சந்தர் சார், எக்ஸ்டர்னல் டைரக்டர் பிளேஸ்மெண்ட். அவர் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா he is in touch with the industry. He is fetching knowledge business school lot of corporate executives and he also bring lot many companies for placements. நேத்து கூட சுரேஷர் GM HR Region Power Tech Private Limited பேசும்போது is appreciative of the companies that have come to KBSS for placements. இதெல்லாமே credit goes to Mr. Balachandra sir. facilitating the industry personnel to KBSS. அது மட்டும் இல்ல ஸ்டூடெண்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். The transformation of students, that is very very important. ஒரு அண்டர் கிராஜுவேட் முடிச்சுட்டு பிஇ முடிச்சுட்டு யூஜி முடிச்சு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வரும்போது எந்த அளவுக்கு டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்ம் பண்றாருன்னு சொல்லி பார்த்தா, பாலச்சந்தர் சார் கண்டக்ட்ஸ் லாட் ஆஃப் ஸ்கைப் இன்டர்வியூ, அதுல ஸ்ட்ரென்த் அண்ட் வீக்னஸஸ் பத்தி எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுவாரு. என்னென்ன ஸ்கில்ஸ் கத்துக்கலாம், கார்பரேட் என்ன எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்ற விஷயத்தெல்லாம் ஷேர் பண்ணி he molds students to the great extent. நான் கூட பார்ப்பேன் நானு lot of MBA students give us such a wonderful feedback about பாலச்சந்தர் சார். உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப ரொம்ப பெருமையா இருக்கு சார். நீங்க வந்து
Thank you.
Really we are happy of the support you provide to knowledge institutions. Thank you once again to you, sir.
So I am not the only one, sir. The entire KOT and KBS team, and the credit goes to them also. I'm not the only one.
Surely you play the lead role, sir. We are happy about that. And when it comes to our beloved principal, sir, Dr. P.S.S. Srinivasan, sir, founder, secretary and principal, sir, சார் வந்து எம்பிஏக்கு வந்து அதிகமா ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுவாரு. நான் ஒவ்வொரு மீட்டிங்கும் சொல்வேன், நான் பியாண்ட் த சிலபஸ் வந்து எம்பிஏ ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கு ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுன்றதுல குறிப்பா இருப்பாரு. உதாரணத்துக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நம்ம கல்லூரி நாலேஜ் இன்ஸ்டியூட் ஆஃப் டெக்னாலஜியில எமர்ஜிங் ஏரியா அப்படின்ற ஒரு டீமை ஃபார்ம் பண்ணி குவைட் ஃப்ரீக்வெண்ட்லி டிஸ்கஸஸ் வித் தோஸ் டீம் இந்த மாதிரியான ஸ்கில் செட்ஸ்லாம் எந்த அளவுக்கு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு இன்வைட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்றதுல கண்டினியூஸா மீட்டிங் வச்சுட்டே இருப்பாரு. குவைட் ஆஃபன் சார் என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா, ரோபோட்டிக்ஸ் ஆகட்டும், ஆர்டிஃபிஷியல் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ், இன்டர்நெட் ஆஃப் திங்ஸ், டேட்டா அனலிட்டிக்ஸ்லாம் எந்த அளவுக்கு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் கெயின் பண்றாங்க. ஏன்னா இப்போ வர கம்பெனிஸ் தே ஃபோக்கஸ் ஆன் தோஸ் எமர்ஜிங் டெக்னாலஜிஸ் அண்ட் கொலாபரேட் வித் தோஸ் டெக்னாலஜிஸ். அந்த அளவுக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா we are thankful to our beloved principal sir for facilitating such a program to MBA students. அதே போல பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த செமஸ்டர் we offer 2 certification courses. ஒன்று வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டிஜிட்டல் மார்க்கெட்டிங், செகண்ட் இஸ் கோயிங் டு பி த பிசினஸ் அனலிட்டிக்ஸ். பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அவர் சார் பிரின்சிபல் சார் என்ன ஃபீல் பண்றாருன்னா, it is not only meant that students participate in these courses and get a certification. That is not enough. They should be really skilled and talented in implementing those aspects. Data analytics performance, okay, they should be involved in digital marketing. உதாரணத்துக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you start a business, you go to venture capitalist to promote your concept, அங்க presentation பண்ணணும், project review பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா you should have a good data visualization. அப்பதான் உங்களோட கருத்தை, உங்களோட டேட்டாவை palatable present பண்ண முடியும் venture capitalist. அது மாதிரி principals are experts, all the MBA students to be really skilled in those emerging technologies. கண்டிப்பா at this juncture I thank our beloved principal sir for all the support and guidance. Thank you, principal sir. My dear students, it's a great occasion. பானுகுமார் சார் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா is very very friendly personality. எந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ்னாலும் கேட்கலாம். கண்டிப்பாக you'll ensure that you get the points completely clear in your mind. It's a great opportunity. I wish all my students a great learning session. Have a fruitful session ahead. Thank you, Nanda. Over to the comparing team.
Thank you so much. Your motivational and insightful thoughts about analytics, sir. Now I would like to invite our Mr. N.C. Balachandran, Senior Consult Placement for Knowledge Institute of Technology and KBS Knowledge Business School. Over to you, sir.
Anyway, thank you very much. I'm a small fry as compared to Mr. Banukumar and Stephen, because he has been brainwashing me, Banukumar, what is data analytics all about from 2014 when he used to come to KSR campus. He used to talk about mood analysis, sentimental analysis, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. What are the 3 V's in volume, veracity, and variety? My goodness. I've been learning a lot from Mr. Banukumar. Then I got so excited, I started passing on to some of our MBA students. Last time when I interact with the MBA students, some of the students, they requested me, we'd like to know more about analytics in business, sir. Could you please suggest some good resource person? That is how Mr. Banukumar has been invited today. He is going to add a lot of value to all of you. I think you need to ask a lot of relevant questions to him, so that as Stephen rightly has said, as the principal rightly has said, students have to come forward to a lot of asking questions, and it should be implemented how analytics subject should get integrated in the mainstream of MBA course. This is my personal request, because last year when I went along with Jagannath to a company called Agility Logistics, you have any MBA student who are very good in analytics domain? He asked me. I was really, I got bowled over when he asked me the question, because I think the analytics is going to be the very important subject for all of us. You need to, because lot of, as yesterday Suresh rightly has said, a lot of unstructured data available in the organization. You need to be very expert in the field of big data analytics, how to structure this data, analyze the patterns, how it will enable the organization leader to take a crucial business decision making. With this brief, I'd like to hand over to the organizer to invite Banakumar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for your such a wonderful and valuable words. The goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. I would like to invite our today's resource person, Mr. S. Bhanukumar, Director of ARRA Association, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Navin. Let me share the screen. Hope you are able to see my screen. Okay. So, firstly, thank you, ABSS, KOT, Balchandra sir, Satish sir, Stephen sir, everybody for giving me this opportunity. I know Mr. NCV almost kind of covered my session in 2 lines. What I'm planning to talk today is what he's already said that. And Mr. Stephen was also talking about a lot of things in terms of where analytics could help. And that's the essence that I'm trying to give in. Basically, trying to give you a bird's eye view of how business has evolved in the last 3-4 decades and where analytics comes in handy in terms of those evolution. So that's the essence of today's session. But irrespective of that, as was said by Mr. Suresh when he was in the session yesterday, or as we are all talking about, yes, analytics is here to stay and it is here to grow. The reason being that facilitates business to grow. That's the essence. So once again, thanks to the management, PSS sir and others. Thanks for allowing me to give this lecture. We will get into the specifics now. As your Stephen sir said, feel free to stop me whenever. Being Google Meet, I'll have to alt tab here and there if you type it on the chat box. But if you want to speak and ask me, feel free to stop me and ask me whenever, wherever, whatever. I am available for you. Now, first things first. Data is almost everywhere. If you really look at it, it is no longer scarce. It is super abundant. Dr. Stephen kind of said that, wherein he said, in the past, data was difficult, but today we are getting it. That's the essence of why analytics is gaining importance. So it is super abundant. Let me tell you why. Your mobile phone, all of you are using smartphone. Some of you are connecting to these calls through this smartphone. When you look at that smartphone, there is a data related to GPS that goes, data related to your wireless packets that goes, data related to voice that goes, data related to the various applications that you are using that goes. So using all of it, I will be able to really understand your habits. The reason why I'm saying it, simple example, those of you who look at, let us say, a Pepperfry or let us say your Flipkart or whatever, you look for a product, but you don't buy it and leave it. 3 days you keep silent. 4th day they will start pumping you information in terms of that product. How do they know that you have not logged in? Your app is there, you're permanently logged in, you don't need to log out at all when you're on the mobile phone, but they still knows, they manage your patterns. You search for a flight on Google, it will tell you half an hour before, it will remind you saying the flight is about to land or about to take off. It will ask you whether you want to book a Uber. Did you inform Google? You did not. You search for a bus from Salem to Chennai and then go to Facebook. It will tell you on the right side all kinds of ads related to Salem to Chennai. That is the essence of data in terms of business. That is the role of data in business. How is it happening? Information is a gold mine. And I pick all the data. I try to assimilate the data to suit my needs. Like when a Google map picks the data from your phone, it picks all the data and then assimilates it in terms of the GPS related data, consolidates this and understands your location, understands your movement pattern, all of it. It even gives the speed of your vehicle and all that on the map and gives you all the information. The same way when Facebook is trying to load the pages for you, the feeds, How does that happen? Or your YouTube videos, how does it happen? It all comes back to whatever you are viewing the maximum number of times. The typical genres that you view is what comes up. So when you really look at it, a lot of this is because of we giving the data. In the past, we used to say, when you're going to see your horoscope, be very careful, keep your mouth shut. He will use your own words to tell you what you're doing. The reality is, computers today use our own patterns to tell us what we are capable of. And that's where business uses it very effectively and efficiently. So here I will just tell you how it uses, and then I will pause for questions. But meanwhile, if you have, feel free to stop, as I said. Business, if you look at it, I've segregated it into 2020. So I didn't mean 2020 or 2021. Let's forget 2020 for the moment. But the point that I'm trying to give here is how business has evolved. 60s to 80s, if you really look at it, if I was a jeweler, my family was into jewelry business, so I will continue. Achari or Pulla Achari, that is where it gets into wherein I was doing it, because it was all dependent on what I know. I was focusing on what I know. I was basically trading my skill, and that skill is a specialized skill. Later in the mid 80s, when we also started moving into computerization and all that, thanks to Sam Patrida, Rajiv Gandhi and all that, we skipped the evolution of computers and got into the latest technologies as in the developed countries and all that. We slightly moved ahead from being a family tradition to first generation businessmen coming in. Who are first generation businessmen? The family hierarchy has never been into business, but I start a business for the first time. Then I'm a first generation businessman. Now, how do I start? All that I said is, I know a set of people who will do it. So I will hire them and make them do the job for me. So I'm called an entrepreneur. I'm no longer a trader. I'm called an entrepreneur. And I start competing. So what do I do there? If I want to start a jewelry business, I take a person who will be able to build the jewelry that I want. I will hire him. I will use him for my technology. If I want to start a school, I'll hire teachers who will be able to do it. So that is how I started moving in. Today's scenario has gone way past that. Anybody can start a business, and I'm sure most of you know there are a lot of youngsters like you who are starting business. In fact, I know Knowledge Institute themselves give you a lot of opportunities where there is a lot of scope for you to start a business or help them out in terms of implementing technology or implementing whatever you want to. But the essence is here, we focus on what the customer wants. As long as I know what my customer wants, I'll build it. Very simple, as long as I know my customer wants. But how will I know what the customer wants? That's where data plays a bigger role. But the other things that happens is today, we collaborate. Though we are entrepreneurs, we just don't compete, but we collaborate and cooperate. That is the sense. It's like plug and play. I collaborate. Now, let us say, for example, I'm into a technology, but I'm an independent consultant. I work on it. There is somebody who wants to do a training. Let's say training itself. Your college, they are coming back in terms of bringing in a training. There are certain things that I can do as a trainer. There are certain things I know somebody will do as a trainer. So what I will do is, when you ask for a training, never say no. Any technical training, I will pick. But some of it I will do. Some of it my coordinators or my collaborators will do it. So what basically happens there, if you really look at it, is I am cooperating where I want. In another place, I might compete with them because they also do the same training that I do. So that's the world we are getting into. A lot of co-preneurs, a terminology that I'm creating here for the sake of understanding. It may not be a dictionary term, wherein we are talking about collaborating entrepreneurs. Similarly, we are into competition and collaboration or cooperation. So I call it co-opetition. So basically, all that it means is, as long as I know what my customer wants, I can start a business. Are we all not seeing cycles being hired? Are we not seeing electric vehicles being hired? How did Uber and Ola start? We all wanted a low-cost solution to travel in an AC car. We got it. So basically, as long as I know what the customer wants, I will get into it. So that is how the business has evolved today. Before I get into this, I will pause for a minute. Open to you if there are any questions, comments before I get into the next slide, where I talk about how I can utilize the data that is available to decide how I can improve on my business. So quick 5 seconds pause. Open to you if you have any questions before I go down to the next slide. Okay. So I told you we can use it for business. Somebody said people wanted to go low-cost travel in AC cars, so we got Ubers and Olas. Now let us get into it in terms of how data is enabling you to do it. Please note, this is a killer slide, as I call, because the essence of role of analytics in business in entirety comes in this slide. Let's take an example. All of you are used to buying in Amazon, buying in Flipkart, right? You go try to buy a charging cable for your mobile phone, and you will end up buying probably a cable plus a hands-free. That's because Amazon understands your buying pattern. Amazon understands your needs and positions it. So how does that happen? I'm not sure whether you have tried it out, but if you have the possibility, try it out. Two of you sit together in the same place, locate the same product in Amazon. When you try locating a product, it will tell you people who bought this also bought, you may also like. Let's take that you may also like. What person A sees is not what person B will see. It will be different. Both of you are in the same place. Both of you are still locating the same product, but you may also like varies. How does that happen? It happens basically because of my buying patterns. That is, person A's buying patterns, person B's buying patterns, number one. Number two, person A's search patterns, person B's search patterns. Number three, both their demography. Now, by demographic data, what do I mean? Your age, your gender, your location, a lot of those information that you actually forgot that you had given this to Amazon, with or without your knowledge. When you created a user ID, you gave all this. After that, you forgot. These days, we even forget passwords because it's already stored there. So we don't even. So where will you remember these demographic info that you shared? So what Amazon does actually in the background is, it picks the buying patterns, search patterns of all the people, then bucketizes them across various segmentations. So this is no longer broad, it gets focused onto the segmentations. Now, what do I mean here? It talks about gender, it talks about age group, it talks about buying patterns, it talks about geography, it talks about a lot of those things. And then puts together the list of products that are bought or viewed. So when somebody looks at it, it takes the pattern of this person, aligns it to the identified patterns that are already done, the segmentation done, and gives it to you. And that's why I call it as segment of one. This happens everywhere. YouTube videos. When you end the first video, the next video that is ready to play, 99.9% it will be the video that you want to. Research says YouTube is one of the best implementers of analytics. So that's one good example where we are talking about segment of one, which means we are going beyond in terms of, we are not talking about Adi Tallupadi. We are not talking about Independence Day sale. We are not talking about Republic Day sale, but we are talking about what you want. So what are we doing? In a brick and mortar, when you go to a shop to buy something, there is a person who walks into you and then asks you, sir, what do you want to buy? You are mimicking that on the screen without the person being there. That's the power of analytics. And that's what happens when you're asking for a route. We are all used to halting the car and then asking someone on the road. Today, we are not doing that. We are going by Google Map. Google Map goes to the extent of giving the tea shop name where you have to take a left. That's the essence of data analytics. That's point one. Point two, if you really look at it, Ubers and Olas, they are the top in terms of vehicle owners. Technically, they are called vehicle owners, but no taxi that is plying on their names are owned by them. It is owned by the drivers. It's on lease to the drivers. Oyo, Airbnb, they don't own any resorts or hotels for staying, but they are top two. Swiggy, Zomato, they don't own any restaurants, but they are the top. Where is it all happening? Go back to the point I said. I know what the customer wants and I'll give you. So I'm starting a business. That's exactly where all of this happened. So if I'm going to ask a restaurant owner, who is their competitor? Now, let's say if you notice today, let's probably go away from that question for a moment. If somebody starts a restaurant, the first thing they test is we Swiggy or we Zomato here. Why? If they don't do that, they are losing business. To whom? Can anyone tell me, if I don't participate with a Swiggy or a Zomato after I start a restaurant, with whom am I losing business? Can anyone tell me? Let's make it interactive. Can anyone tell me who are we losing business with? Who is my competitor there? Anybody? You can put it on the chat box if you don't want to unmute and talk also. I'm fine with it. Don't want to, you're not able to recognize the, understand the question or recognize the competitor. All that I want is who's going to be your competition if you do not partner with Swiggy or Zomato and you run a restaurant.
Sir, probably other like Uber Eats, like that people can recognize that, sir.
Okay, so you're saying your competitor is Swiggy and Uber or Swiggy and Zomato. Okay.
Yes,
Anybody else wants to negate what Sendilnathan says, or you agree to what Sendilnathan says? Before I comment on it. Who's your competitor? If you are on a restaurant business, the restaurants are competitors. But what did Sendilnathan say? The competitor is Uber and Zomato. So what is happening there? They are actually connecting with multiple restaurants and delivering it at your home. So if I am not going to partner with them, I am actually not selling more, because today all of us are so lazy that we want home delivered. And probably thanks to pandemic, we are not able to go there. So we are getting it home delivered. So the restaurant is losing business. So the biggest competitor, and I don't call it as benchmark competitor, but I call it as disruptive competitor, because they have disrupted the business. The restaurants compete with other restaurants through Swiggy and Zomato, as was rightly brought out by Sendilnathan. So the biggest competitor is a disruptive competitor. Day one, when Swiggy or Zomato decided to do this delivery, they are the biggest. If you notice Dunzo, for example, they started off when Swiggy and Zomato were in the peak. But during the pandemic, at least in cities where Dunzo is running, during the pandemic, the biggest contributor to delivering what people want was Dunzo and not a Swiggy or a Zomato. And that made Swiggy start Swiggy Genie. So that's exactly what we mean by disruptive competition. All that Dunzo said was, be it a Swiggy or a Zomato, they said, we will deliver food. Dunzo went one step ahead. Multiple shops started saying, we Dunzo here. You give them anything, they will take it, deliver it wherever you want. They are kind of a courier, but cheaper. That's what they did. So when pandemic started, they connected with all the shops and they started delivering whatever you wanted. Swiggy and Zomato, Swiggy had to get that going after seeing Dunzo doing so much. More importantly, with the pandemic and the lockdowns extending, they realized. So that's exactly what is called disruptive competition. But mind you, both these are possible only when I am able to predict the changes in the demand. All of you have heard of Nokia. I will talk about another story at the end, which you wouldn't have heard of, but all of you have heard of Nokia. What is Nokia? What was Nokia famous for? So it is now come back. What was Nokia famous for? Anybody? Do you remember?
Mobile phone, sir.
Exactly. 1100 mobile phone made, right, Sam? So 11, right, Ajay? So 1100 was the biggest hit for Nokia, if all of us know it. So the big ticket item that killed Nokia was they did not recognize the need for touch phones, smartphones. So somewhere they lost the battle. They tried to bring in Windows. It didn't work out. They had a lot of challenges. Now they are coming into Android, but they were not able to predict the demand change. They were number one at one point, but they lost the battle somewhere in between. They almost went to lockdown and now they are trying to recover. So that's where the importance of demand change comes in. Last but not the least is data-oriented is again the dynamic real-time pricing. All of you have read this story. Flipkart, during their Flipkart sale, sells the mobile phones at 500 rupees at 10 o'clock. 12 o'clock it becomes 5,000. 3 o'clock it becomes 15,000. It's not because they are cashing in on the demand. Mind you, they are actually managing their supply chain better. You know why? What does Flipkart say? Despite the sale, I will deliver your products that you have bought in 2 days' time. That's their SLA. So they have predicted a demand for the product and have stocked the product with them. That's their supply which is available. That's a chunk of product, if sold, will be able to deliver within the 2 days timeline. If it goes beyond, they may not, because they'll have to procure and then do it. There is a procurement time lag. So at 500, when they see a lot of people buying it, they start increasing the price. So when it becomes 50,000, only those who are desperate to buy that model will buy that phone. The others will drop off. Just because it is 500, buying is gone. So they manage the inventory better. So they are able to manage the supply chain better. That's exactly what we mean by dynamic real-time pricing, which is happening thanks to data. Another example of dynamic real-time statistics rather than pricing is your Google Map. When you are using Google Map and ride, somewhere in between it says there is a congestion 5 minutes down the line. You are in the fastest route, though you have traffic. Where is it coming from? Dynamically, it picks information based on what we have given. So what is happening is, this is from a customer perspective, but in the back end, from a company perspective, on the right, what I have written is what happens. So I am collecting real-time data, putting it in a particular fashion, which will enable me to predict my demand. And based on that, I make a decision in terms of what I want to achieve. So this is the essence of role of data analytics in your business. As I said, last 10 minutes or 12 minutes, I've been rattling out a lot on this one slide. And that's why I said killer slide. I will pause for a moment. I'm stopping the screen share, opening it out. Any questions, thoughts, comments from the audience before I get into the next section? Feel free to ask me questions. The more you ask, the more you learn. Anybody?
Yes, sir. Sam here, sir.
Yes, Sam. Go ahead.
Like you said, predictive demand. We can forecast what is the demand coming in the future, sir. It's like
yes, you can forecast. You can forecast.
Okay.
Technically, what happens is that is where you have the concept of machine learning coming in, machine learning models coming in. So based on past operations, you train your systems in such a way that you are able to predict the future. That's where you use basic models like regression models. I'm sure you would have learned all this in statistics in your good old days, which you have forgotten. But if you want to rekindle your thoughts there, this is what happens. You do some basic modeling like your regression modeling, or you go into a little more complex modeling, what we call as K&N modeling and other stuff, wherein you will get into the detailing in terms of understanding the patterns, deciding on what it is, and then moving on. So you guys as managers, if you want to look at decisions, you will have a team which will do these analytics. You will probably review it to see whether it makes sense and then take it up. So that's how it goes. So yes, there are models which will enable you to get into accurate predictions. And that's the classic living example is your YouTube videos where you get the next set of channels that you get into, or your Amazons you may also like. All those are classic examples of modeling working effectively, sir.
Thank you, sir. Got it.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. So the next step is, now that we are doing this, what does it mean then? The biggest thing that we need to look at here is all these, there are challenges for all these. And from a student community perspective, these are opportunities for you. Social media has shrunk the world. Today, I am more than happy to say I am sitting in this session but not listening. I'm doing on my own thanks to your online classes. But even before your peer who's attending the session realizes that, there are 20 other people who would have liked that post on your Facebook page. Now, that's basically because we are also comfortable talking to an assumed human being whom we don't even know how they look or what do they do, what are their patterns in terms of their talking, more than talking to the next door. Probably pandemic has made us feel on a more serious, sensitive tone. This is the first time most of us have started feeling people next door should be hale and healthy so that I will be healthy. But until now, we have always been thinking about our own healthiness, not others. So this is where the social media makes it. But the problem is what can be shared, what cannot be shared. On a bigger session, I can talk about examples here, but in the interest of time, I'm not giving the examples. The point is, you share something which is sensitive, then it can be a complication. Good example, COVID. All of us are WhatsApp doctors now. We don't go to the doctor. We use WhatsApp itself. So that's a classic example where social media has shrunk the world. So everybody thinks everything is known. Data is not necessarily structured. I gave you multiple examples, multiple types of data that goes from your mobile phone. So they're not structured. Gone are the days when I said, I have an employee data, I have a teacher, I have probably an employer data, I have a sales data. It's all together there. I pick and choose what I want. That's why it says it's no longer structured. But the good news is, though 80% of it is unstructured, if by chance, if there is this data universe is measurable and you measure saying there is so much of data, apparently only 33% of the data can be used for making decisions. And any guesses in terms of how much of that 33% is being used for making decisions today by the business? Any wild guess, anybody? 33% of the overall data universe can be used for decisions. Do you think it's 30%, 20%, 10%, or 32%? What could be it? Any guesses, anybody? Okay, it is 0.35% at the moment. That's why I said it is an opportunity. There is so much more that you could do. Without all that, already we feel we are exposed. But imagine if I reach all that 33%. Your Amazon Echo that you have at home will tell you, I have ordered new upholstery for the home because these upholstery were bought by you 2 years back at this cost, and it is already old. And I know you have washed it 3 times and it's not going to help any longer. And I have your credit card, so I have ordered it for you. That's the world we are moving into. And that's where the customer sentiments comes in, wherein you are trying to understand the customer likes and dislikes. If Amazon Echo orders it on Amazon for you, an upholstery, it obviously orders based on your likes and dislikes. That's how we are operating. So you just put yourself on the organization perspective, Amazon's perspective. All this improves your performance. And this, in essence, when you look at it, is full of opportunity for you. Just imagine the kind of things that you can do. Sky is the limit. As long as you have the mind to try it out, you're there. And that's exactly what I know NCB said for the last almost 12, 15 years. I'm sure he would have told you multiple times, read a lot, learn from the internet, read your papers. Now, and how many times he has shared so many technical details from the papers or whatnot. It's all because this is what is going to make you think in terms of what you want to do future after your studies. So what next? That is where we are coming into. A quick 2-second pause, open out for questions if there is any before I get into the last section. Sorry, the penultimate section. Okay. So basically all that what we are trying to say is we need to harness data. A quick 2-minute thought for you. A quick 2-minute thought for you. There are 3 groups here, Group A, Group B, Group C. Some of these logos you are aware, some of these logos you may not be aware. And maybe faculty and people like NCB sir may know some of the logos in Group A. 99% of the student community will not know the logos in Group A. But now I want you to tell me what is the thread behind this grouping. On what basis have I done this grouping? Group A, Group B, Group C. Can anyone tell me the basis of grouping? Wild guess. Let's not take too much of a time. Just think of what all I have told till now.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Sir, Group A has not so much of data, but Group C has so much of customers' data, sir. So that way I can differentiate something.
That's an interesting perspective, Sam. Good one. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay. Now, Sam is kind of kind. I think it was Sam who said that, right? So it is kind of, he was kind of right. The point is, I'm giving you a different perspective to it and then come back to his point. Fortune 500 companies. I'm sure most of you have heard this term, Fortune 500. Fortune runs an analysis and then publishes the top 10, top 500, top 500, top 1000 companies and all that. All those logos that you saw in Group A were all Fortune 500 in 1955. But when we came down to 2014, they're all dead and gone. Mind you, they're all dead. They are non-existent. Second one, they were Fortune 500 in 1955. They survived in 2014. And third one, they were never there in 1955, but they are in the top 500 in 2014. So I will come back and relate to the data here now. Now, remember what is business? I told you how it is evolving. People know what they, as long as I know what my customer wants, I can survive. How did Facebook start? Mark Zuckerberg wanted to chat with his friends without the knowledge of the faculty in the classroom. And today, we are all chatting with people across the globe without the knowledge of who he or she is. He has a she profile, she has a he profile and whatnot, but we don't even know who he or she is and we are able to chat. Microsoft, I consciously did not put two logos here, Amazon and Google, then the rest would have been history. You would have identified faster. All these people are considered to be the best in identifying data-based decisions. Now, Target is considered to be the best in implementing technology in terms of data analytics. Target is said to be the best across the world. Target is a retail store in US. Home Depot, Office Depot are stationery stores in US. I think Office Depot has come in India also. So these are all there, which is going to help you do that. Mind you, eBay was the first e-commerce site that came into India. But today we talk about Amazon, but not eBay, because he's slowly losing out. Now here, if you look at it, all of them almost kind of died before they came back. For example, I'll pick a Kellogg's example. Kellogg's, I don't know how many of you have read through. If you follow NCB sir to the T, you would have read this. Kellogg's has a case study that they published saying how did they survive in India, became #1 in India and globally, thanks to India. You know why? At one point, Kellogg was ready to shut shop in India. But as a last-ditch effort, they introduced one ad which made them grow into #1 in India and later beyond that across the globe. That one ad was the husband of this husband is watching the TV cricket match. Wife goes between the husband and the TV and then picks something. The husband just tells the wife, "You have lost weight." Wife just looks back and tells the husband, "I take Kellogg's for breakfast." I am not joking. That ad made Kellogg's #1 in India. They should have shut shop, but that ad made them #1 because two reasons. One, everybody wants to be light, wants to stay away from being obese. And head of the kitchen, whatever they decide to have, the rest of the family has, though there are discussions in terms of what to prepare, what not to prepare and all that. So the case study reads this way. They say this happened because when the wife said, "I have it," and there is a living proof that they are not getting obese, they are losing weight, the rest of the family starts following them. So I start selling more Kellogg's. So I bring in variants to Kellogg because there are kids. So I need to get the strawberry flavor, I need to get the chocolate and vanilla flavors and all that. So I start getting into it. So things start moving. So that one ad changed. But what is key there? That ad came up because Kellogg's knew what the customer wanted. I know what the customer wants and I will survive. Same thing with Whirlpool. All that they have survive on is, all of us say, more than their product, their service is good. Today it's a different story. We say that because within 24 hours, somebody calls you and tells you when they will come. So you know you are heard when you raise a complaint. That's how all these goes. So the essence is, if you have the data and you know how to harness it, you are the ruler. So some examples, NCB sir talked about some of the analysis. I'm showing you the examples here. Sentiment analysis of the product, month-wise, district-wise, region-wise data is analyzed. Whenever you have an Apple iOS or your Apple iPhone launch or a premium model of Samsung launch, 6 to 9 months before the product launch, there is a product leak. It's not a leak. It's not coincidence. It is an incident. They consciously release it to make you all or make us all beta testers. The moment we see a new product, we start giving feedback left, right, and center, just like clicking on the like. We say, this is good, this is bad, this should have been on the right side, this should have been on the back side. I like this, I don't like this. So there is someone who watches all these posts, segregates them to good, bad, ugly, and then decides what can be modified if it is bad, and then releases. And when they release after 9 months, we say, hey, I was saying this is bad, they have removed it. I was saying this is good, it is retained. Actually, you have tested free for them. That's a good example of sentiment analysis. Market share. MBA marketing knows this better than anybody else. You talk about what is the share of the market that you own in comparison with your competitors. So I look at a lot of data to decide who's the leader or how much do I need to make to decide. And that's where analytics comes in, wherein how much do I shift my sales targets so that I become the leader. Kind of what if analysis can happen based on this. HR, depending on time, I can show you an example, live example of this also. We have gone to the stage where we predict performance, we predict attrition, we predict everything. A lot of what Stephen sir said, as Suresh was talking about yesterday, comes in here. I get into a lot more analysis in terms of predictions. I predict succession plan, I predict attrition, and if a senior resource is going away and he's critical, I plan succession. The tool is enabled to give me the right candidate who can be a successor. So I go to that level. So as a company performance, I can see finance, HR, marketing, the visible towers. I can have a landing page as this, and clicking on each of this will take me to the individual pages that you saw earlier. HR will bring in here. Marketing will probably bring in here. Operations will take you somewhere else. Sales could take you. So that way I could build. And this is what is the essence of data analytics that you're talking about. Pause here before I get into the disruptive trends that come in. Any questions while the screen is painting? Any questions till now in terms of what I saw as data analytics? The reason why I'm bringing this slide after that is how analytics is enabling us to succeed in business. The various trends that come in, which is all data oriented. Today, I talk about a lot of experiences more than the product. Your VR, AR, all your Amazon products have a video. Some of it, if you are a VR, AR capability, comes in. Gone are the days when you call someone to check out which is the best resort in Kodaikanal, but you look at social media for the rating. You look at Trivagos to make my trip to see the ratings and then decide what is good. That's a social media impact. Then there is a dynamic customer journey. Now, what I mean is loyalty is dead and gone in business. If you are able to provide what the customer wants, they are with you. If you're not able to, they move ahead. That's exactly why needs of the customer is very important. Again, data oriented. Automation, the faster you go back to the customer, the better it is. We talk about agile models. So that's exactly what it is. And the essence of the tower is the analytics there. You will have to be innovative in terms of doing the analysis or building the product. IoT technology we talk about. You think about a lot of things. See, this classic example of Google, when you are searching, you're getting it. Or I'll give you another innovative example which talks about experiences. I do not know whether you folks have tried it out. People who have a smartphone, models, search for an animal in Google search. You have an AR, VR enabled. So you could see the lion roaring, and you could even use your camera to make it stand next to you and then take a picture. So though in reality, you're not seeing the lion, you're standing next to it and you take a picture. So that's innovative, gives you experience, but more importantly, kids are engaged, seniors are engaged. So there is a lot more Google search that happens. The more the search, the more is the data for Google for them to process. So that's exactly what happens. And all of us are mobile. I even gave you an example of mobile phone only. So it is mobile first. We talk about everything mechanical, virtual. We talk about 3D printings and a lot of things. So all of it is internet oriented, data oriented. And that's why there is a data universe that is available. But despite all this, it's only 33% that you could analyze. And that 33% is your analytics that is possible. But you're currently at 0.35. Guys, there is a lot of opportunity, and it is important that you look at these. I'm not saying just like that. Here is the proof for you. I'm going to tell you what is the industry prediction for the next couple of years, which will tell you it is all data oriented. That's the last section. But before I get into it, any questions, comments, clarifications from any of you? Anything at all?
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, Balabandi.
Marketing. Yes, sir. Identity, sir. The question.
Balamurugan, it's breaking. You're not audible.
Sir, marketing.
Marketing?
Development, sir.
Marketing developments, yes. So that is what I was showing you here. If you look, yeah. If I was showing you here, marketing developments, if you really look at it, the point that I'm trying to give here is, I can talk about the market share. How do I do that? Sales made by me, sales made by competitors. How do I know it? As Stephen sir said in the beginning of the session, sitting in my laptop, I can get whatever type of data that I want. So I compare, contrast. I know what my competitors' products are. I mix and match. I try to bring in terms of concepts, in terms of what I was sold, what is the potential of the market. I know how many people are there, and then I try to relate it and get into it. So this way, data enables me to understand the market share and improve on what I want to improve. I think this is what was your question. If it is not, please type out on the chat box and I can probably explain better. Right? This is the prediction for the current year and probably the next couple of years. Gartner is the biggest in terms of trend analysis predictors. All that they say is they have segregated it into 3 towers: people-centric, location-independent, and resilient delivery. Logic is very simple. What is happening today in the industry with the pandemic for the last 1 year? Most people have gone to their native places, but the companies are still delivering what they have to, working remotely. It is people-centric. So what do I mean? People behaviors on the internet, the experiences around it for strategizing things or managing the privacy. So how do I get, this is one side. Then the location independence. So I store wherever, your own Facebook, your own Gmail. You don't even know where the message is stored. When you want to go and look at, send a message in WhatsApp or Facebook, and if it is down, you feel jittery, right? Has it ever happened? It doesn't. So people don't care about it. It's taken for granted. So that's what is your distributed cloud. Though technically there are a lot more, I'm not getting into it. Work from anywhere. That's exactly what is happening during the pandemic. Cyber security. Now the cyber security is with so much of data, what can be shared, what cannot be shared. Remember the legality, the hacking. There are so many these days. You see, my Facebook post has been hacked. People are connecting to ask money. Do not take it. That's a classic example of a cyber security issue. And then resilience in terms of intelligence, in terms of engineering and high automation. So the point that I'm driving here is the foundation or the thread that cuts across all this, if you really look at it, is data. How will I know the behavior of my employee? Only when I monitor his movements, only when I monitor his behavior patterns. Like, for example, somebody has been performing well and he has been contributing a lot in terms of the upbringing or nurturing the company and all that. But suddenly last 3 months, he's lying low. I, as a manager, should recognize that. Maybe I'm seeing a withdrawal symptom because he's trying to look out. Maybe he's not fed effectively in terms of his needs. Probably he has a bad experience. So I'll have to do that. In a manual scenario, it is very difficult compared to an automated scenario where a lot of this information can be readily picked by the HR team and shared with the managers so that they could do it. That's a good example where it comes in. So the essence is all of it is technology driven and you are actually achieving it based on the enablers that come in. So you're talking about AR, distribution cloud, package business capabilities. You're talking about revolutions on deep learning. Now, this is a technology. You're all management graduates. What you should remember is to understand the jargons. You're not expected to work on the technology, but you're expected to understand and question the technology. Now, what is deep learning, for example? Deep learning, there are white papers, there are research papers that has gone to the level wherein they say, using deep learning, one can identify if there is any disability of a child to be born by validating the scan reports of the fetus in the womb and decide whether there is going to be disability or not. That's the level that goes into, which means you need to question in terms of how did you arrive at the patterns, or you need to question in terms of are the analysis done as appropriate. And that's exactly what you need to know as a manager. You're not sitting there to sit and code, because that way you'll become a damager. All that you need to do is you'll have to sit and understand and realize what they are talking about and ask the right questions. How many times your faculty has said, just don't ask questions for the sake of asking, ask relevant questions. That's exactly what it means. Being a manager, you should understand the relevancy behind it. And that's exactly what you will learn in terms of these technical aspects. Because the business model is getting digitized, the ways of working is a lot more remote, the technologies are disruptive, so the challenges evolve more and more and more and more, that we need to take care of all of those by providing the right solutions that will enable us to achieve it. This summarizes a lot of what I wanted to say. But let me come back to the story. How many of you know Kodak? I know the faculty, people like NCB sir know Kodak. How many of the students really know who Kodak was? Kodak was actually a film company. In the good old days when we had the camera, we used to put the film roll, take photographs. They were founded in 1888 and were in the Fortune 500 company list. But somewhere in 2012, they started dropping and they finally shut shop. They are not even a Nokia for them to relaunch from deathbed, but they are shut shop. Reason, somewhere in 2005, 2007, digital cameras came on board. First time was more instant cameras, Polaroid. So you click a photo, the film, it automatically gives you the photo, you take it. That was Polaroid, that survived for a while, but then dropped. So Kodak felt, yeah, people want the manual albums to be seen. But digital cameras came in, standalone digital cameras and mobile digital cameras came in, and Googles of the world and others started coming out with online storages and all that. So I no longer required an album manually printed, but I just need to take the storage to get it. Kodak did not recognize that. The demand, the data understanding, what the customer wants was lost. So in 2012, they filed bankruptcy and they lost. So the point that I'm trying to tell you is, if you want to be in business, you will have to necessarily do things the way it has to be. Keep iterating what you do, but where possible, innovate. And that innovate has to be disruptive to such an extent that you lose track of what you are doing originally. And that's exactly what happened in the digital, the photo world, because they were iteratively producing films after films after films. People were taking it. Somebody innovated online photography, and then it disrupted to an extent that people forgot that. A good example of that, in fact, was Sony. They were big time on digital photography. They decided to come into mobile phones. You know what was their ad? They gave all the features about the camera and finally said, oh, by the way, you can also talk. And that became a reality today. How many of you really see the phone for talking, use the phone for talking? You use it for chatting, you use it for browsing, you use it for apps. Very minimally, you use it for talking, right? Because we are all used to chatting and not talking. That is disruption. So as student community, what is important is for you to understand what the customer wants and balance effectively between iteration, innovation, and disruption, so that you are disrupting the way you learn things and disrupting the way you publish what you have learned for you to succeed. With that note, I will end my session. I know I went slightly overboard, but I will end my session here and open out for any questions, comments before we close it. Back to you. Open for questions. Anybody, any questions?
Dear students, you can ask question to sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Indilana, tell me.
Yes, sir, Sindhulan, sir. Sir, how does the machine learning works in data business analytics, sir? And what roles is machine learning playing in the business analytics?
Okay, with the machine learning, I will probably give you an analogy and explain. My favorite way of explaining machine learning. We are all humans. We are all born with a coin size of brains, which is where the intelligence is, right? And how does this evolve? We see a lot of things happening. We absorb a lot of things happening. We feel a lot of things happening. All of you go check with your mom. All of you would have touched a lighted lamp once to realize when you touch it, it is going to be hot. It's all something that we learn. And then we make decisions based on that. We see others falling flat on some decisions. And then we learn what was the mistake. We take it up. How many times we have analyzed cricket match saying, he should have sent this bowler here and not that bowler and all that. So the same analogy when you bring in here, machines don't have that intelligence, a coin-sized brain. So you are introducing intelligence. That is what is artificial intelligence. Now you learned by touch, feel, sense, and watch. None of that happened there. So how does machine learn? You pick the past data. Remember NCB sir was talking about volume, variety, veracity and all that. That's exactly where the data comes into. Volume is the depth of data that you have. Veracity is the different types of data. Velocity is the speed at which you get the data. See, 10 years back, last 5 years data is good enough for you to plan your sales. Today, last 5 hours data is critical for you. That's the speed at which the data is coming in for you. So I pick all this data, understand the patterns that are available in this data for me to evolve and identify. How many times do we say, oh, if it is Sendilnathan, he will always have a question, or if it is Sendilnathan, he will always come first, or whatever. Those are patterns that people have seen and they get it. And that pattern, when you make the machine build, that is what is machine learning, where you do the modeling. That's the technology part of it, wherein you implement your statistics and all that. Like what you say, this flight never run. Typically, Emirates 1% is where there is delay, but otherwise they never delay the flight and all that. So those are statistical implementations that come in. So use all that on the data that you have used for training, test it out, saying whether the analysis is right, and then start predicting. So coming back to your question, Sendilnathan, machine learning is enabling the machine to learn the patterns for you to predict. But the key here is, if your prediction is wrong, it is not wrong, but that prediction had a particular scenario which was not fed into the training for the machine learning for you. So you will have to give that data for it to train. That's where it is. Hope that answers Sendilnathan. Balamurugan,
Yes,
business. Yeah, thanks. Balamurugan, business environment is the environment where you make do the business. So in the 5 years back, the environment was more in terms of running around, marketing people, having pie, all that, and moving around on the road, selling it. Today, we are doing it on a digital zone. So that's the way it is. Environment is basically your surrounding. Business environment is what happens within that business.
Mr. Bhanukumar.
Sir, what is about
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. NCP sir, I'll come to you. Go ahead, Sam.
sir, what is about this unsupervised data, supervised data? Sir, what is that?
Okay, unsupervised, supervised, it is slightly technical, Sam. The point here is unsupervised is decisions are automatically taken. Supervised is decisions are taken based on the reading by us. A good example of supervised is you saying, based on past analysis, you know in 2022 sales will dip by 5%. You stop there. That is supervised, because all that it means is you will have to give the data, tell the tool, tell the learning to get into a pattern, make you learn and then do it. Basically, technically, if you look at it, supervised is you are monitoring the learning. Unsupervised is you are not monitoring the learning. So it automatically makes a decision. A good example of unsupervised learning, a lot of deep learning, like when you are in these kinds of online trainings, when I try to look at the video patterns, the faces, the nods, the eyelashes, the eye movements, eyeball movements and all that, and then make a decision saying somebody is listening or sleeping. That's a good example of unsupervised learning, because I don't watch it, but it gets done. So that's where it gets into. Supervised is you monitor it, unsupervised you don't. But technically, there are a lot more details. I don't want to get it here, but if you still need it, you can reach out to me offline and I can probably help you also.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. NCB, sir.
For the benefit of MBA students, could you please explain how they can leverage predictive analytics knowledge when they switch over to startup company? Startup companies, they'll be engaged as to be in charge of predictive analytics. What exactly is the predictive analytics job in a startup company?
Okay, see, very simple, be it startup or well-established company, predictive analytics is nothing but prediction. You can predict people exiting the company. You can predict what people will buy or your consumers will buy. You can predict when to launch a new product. You can predict when a product can be sunset. So anything and everything. The idea behind predictive analytics is anything that will enable the business to grow. How do you do it? So when I want to predict, the concept of machine learning question that was asked earlier, where I explained what Sendilnathan asked and I explained, comes in. So basically what I will do is I will look at the past patterns and I will build in the patternized data to say this is how it is. And then you do it. How many times have you said, even I meeting later than all that is something that we analyze based on what has happened in the past. The same thing gets replicated. The only difference is when you use it to business, you use it for growing. So predictive analytics, irrespective of the type of company, startup or otherwise, you will have to start deciding how it will improve your business. But the key here is for me to predict, I need to understand how to read the data. I need to understand how to decide how based on the data in terms of making inferences. Number 3, I need to know what is called as a data storytelling. In the sense, you've heard of storytelling. Basically, most of the good practices, morals we have learned is because of Patisanathari, right? The similar concept is what comes into the storytelling. The Panchatantras and the tinkles of the world in our good old days is what is going to come in here. So you read the data and say, what is the output of it? So that you are able to get into the specifics in terms of going into the details. So you need to know how to read data. You need to know how to consolidate the data, group them the way you want it. You need to infer from the data and state what it is, which means communication is very important. Analytical thinking is very important. Being creative is very important. What we call as the left brain and the right brain will have to work cohesively for you to succeed. Sir, hope that answered the what you wanted me to state. I think I've stated that, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So Balamurugan, what is focusing? In which perspective are you asking? In general term, focusing means you trying to position yourself into a particular deeper knowledge of a particular concept. So you focus on that concept. So when you're driving, you focus on the road, not on the person sitting next to you and all that. But in which perspective are you asking? If you can explain, I can get into the specifics.
Sir, in recent times, digital marketing is like a boom nowadays, sir. But they are saying that it will transform like complete business analytics in future. So how can you predict on that?
Logic is very simple, sir. What is marketing? You're enabling people to buy. It becomes digital marketing because you're enabling them to buy through Facebook. Now, where is analytics helping digital marketing?
Google
When you go to not necessarily Google Analytics, anything. When you go to Facebook on the right side, Salem to Chennai bus search enabled them to add bring in multiple ads there, right? So that is analytics-based advertisement campaign. Now, for example, Titan publishes a lot of diversity-oriented ads. Because diversity is picking up, they are saying they do it. Shakti Masala, diversity. They talk about people with disabilities packing their products. They talk about people with disabilities trying to work together in their factories. How many of us think about it saying, oh, these guys are supporting PWDs, let me go buy from them. So that is an analytical oriented marketing that happens. And when that gets into the digital world, it becomes a digital marketing with analytics.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, as a MBA graduate, what skills I have to enhance in terms of analytical, sir?
As I told you sometime back to NCB sir's questions in the Nathan, first thing is, if you want to be in analytics, you must necessarily know how to manage data, read data, consolidate data. Now, irrespective of analytics or otherwise, you are in MBA marketing or MBA HR or whatever, what happens is marketing, you will probably over a period of time as a manager, you will project the sales for the particular quarter, for a particular month and all that. Now in analytics, that becomes prediction and not projection. That's a change in word, because this projection is based on an assumption, but this prediction is more informed based on the past data, right? So irrespective of what it is, the key for you as an MBA grad is, A, you must understand data. You must know how to bucketize. You would have heard of market basket analysis and all that, right? So you will have to bucketize the data to write kind of things, number 2. Number 3, you should be able to dice the data, in the sense, go deeper into the data to analyze what is the data telling you. That is what is talking with the data. Because when you project, you say, okay, last year the sales was bad in South. So this year I will try to improve. So let's improve. But everywhere I made it 20%, here I will make it 10%. That's based on guesstimate. But with analytics, this went down because of this reason. My ad campaign was low. My product did not match this environment. Those things will come in. So you will say, improve this production for me to get into it. So those are things that come in. So you need to be able to look at the holistic perspective in terms of how it is, right? So, and then last but not the least, you need to state that effectively. Now, when you look at it, you've all heard of just-in-time production, just-in-time ordering, inventory. Now, what is that all about with technology coming in? I know how much I can stock in my godown, and I know what is my market requirement. I know my production capacity. I know my raw material availability. When I try to integrate all of this online real time and order only when I need it, I know it is going to take 5 days. When I pick the first order from the raw material go down, it will take 5 days before the production team comes for the next order. And it is going to take 7 days before that is ready for market to start selling it. So when I put all these patterns together, consolidated, and then decide when to order. So what is the 10%, 5% when I need to order? That is the base stock that I need to have. Remember, you would have talked about all those when you talked about inventory ordering and all that. So all those, when you're automating it, you're building it based on past analysis, that becomes analytics, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Anybody else? Anything else?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Say something about business analytics, sir, in IT industry.
See, analytics is still the same, whatever it is. What I mean by business analytics is how analytics is paving way in terms of all this. Okay, so how is analytics enabling business to survive? So what do you do? So all that I do it is, the first thing that I do is try to understand what is my current status, right? The second step, what I try to do is, where do I want to go? So when I compare these two, I do what is referred as data mining. So I mine the data, past performances, current performance, and then the future state. And then I try to build a model which says, okay, this is what it is. This is my capacity using which I can go to this level. So when the same example that I gave for Senthil in terms of the production, when I put all of those business facets or the departments together to arrive at a number, that will be my prediction for production, that will be my prediction for sales, that will be my prediction for revenue. When all those puzzles get solved, when they come in holistically, it becomes business analytics. To be successful in business analytics, the most important factor that you will probably work on is for you to first understand your business, understand the type of data that comes in, and then move into the steps in terms of analysis. I will just share my screen and show you what it is in a moment. Just give me a moment. The essence of business analytics, I will show you. Just a second. Let me share my screen. I will show you a slide which will tell you. So this is the complete perspective in terms of business analytics. So the first point that we are trying to talk about is, I told you, data mining. So I am focused on understanding the characteristics, patterns, and other things that are supporting my revenue growth, right? Then the second one is, I try to simulate the environment. Things were bad last year, 2020 COVID, no sales. 2021, if the COVID continues, am I going to have no sales? Or will government allow me to do basic selling? So I start simulating it and then get into manipulating the data to do a what if analysis in terms of saying, what if increase in sales, decrease it? What if the lockdown extends for another year? How will I survive and all that? And ultimately put it into a visual that is understandable by the business to do it. This in entirety is your business analytics. And to achieve this, every department will have to implement analytics. Every department will have to build in their intelligence, model it using the statistical techniques for you to achieve it. Did that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. What are the additional courses I can take related to analytics, Senthilnathan? It depends on how technical or otherwise are you. One is, if you are wanting to manage a technology team, some basic introduction into Python or R could be there. Definitely a visualization like a Power BI or a Tableau will be helpful. These two can help, but more importantly, there is a lot that you could do in Excel itself. There is data analytics possibility in Excel itself. So you will have to learn Excel thoroughly, try to do it. And an extension of that on the visualization is your Power BI or your Tableau. But if you want to build in the models, like what I was saying, building the patterns and all that, so then you become technical. So try to learn a bit of Python and R. And depending upon how technical are you are an engineering graduate with a computer science and all that in the past and all that, or you are okay for technology, you can go down into deeper learning of Python or R. If you're not, you can get the basics of Python and basics of machine learning so that when your team starts telling you this is what I did, You could ask what was the pattern, what was the model you used, why did you not use this model, why did you use this model? Those kinds of questioning can come. So that's how it goes in there. Hope that answered. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sir, like you told it, in Excel itself we can do business analytics, but dashboarding exclusively we can do in Power BI or Tableau.
Power BI, Tableau. There is a limitation in Excel. Dashboarding you can do. The biggest limitation of an Excel compared to a visualization tool is Excel is both an editor and a viewer. So when you send that Excel with the dashboard, people can go change the numbers the way you want it. So the authenticity, the data integrity is in question. Whereas in case of Power BI, you cannot edit there. You will have to go back to the source to edit. Same happens with Tableau. So the data integrity is excellent. That's number one. Number two, in Excel, I send it to you, you play around with it. So if probably an NCB sir or a Stephen sir or a Sendilnathan wants another report, I will have to reinvent the wheel by creating it. So what you see is not what the others will see. But in case of your Power BI and Tableau, you can bring in a single source of truth. Depending upon the various rules, create the reports based on authentications in terms of based on your role and all that. You can see what you want to. That's where this comes in. Okay.
Got it, sir.
Okay. Aishwarya, data analyst is a person who analyzes data. So what is it you need to do is you must necessarily be a person who loves to play with data, numbers. Number one. Number two, you must be a good data storyteller, which means you must be able to slice, dice the data, run it in entirety, look at what is going right, what is not going right, and you should be able to state that, which means you need to be an excellent communicator to prove your point. So a data analyst reads the data, analyzes the data, and positions the results out of that analysis to the business team for them to make decisions. An extension of this is a business analyst, wherein he understands the business terminology in alongside with the technical terminology. That's where it is. Hope that answered, Aishwarya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Any other question?
Bhanukumar, can you briefly explain for the benefit of MBA students what should be the role of sentimental analysis and mood analysis when they take over position like social media executive?
Okay, sir. Sentiment analysis. What is sentiment basically? Good or bad? In simple terms, there is no gray here. It's white or black. I like it, it is good. I don't like it, it is bad. Yeah, okay, and all that doesn't matter. So sentiment analysis, what does it mean? You have your social media profile. You have your social. I gave you an example of that Apple and Samsung products, right? So all that what happens is when that product leak is given, there is a team, social media experts, like what the NCB sir was saying. They are the ones who monitor all the remarks. They don't do it manually. There are tools to do that. So they extract all the statements that are made, the feedback that are given, and each word is read by the tool and bucketized as positive, negative. That's the sentiment, right? Bucketized as positive, negative, and related to a feature. So a sentiment analysis is this bucketized positive and negative when mapped to the features to say whether people like it or dislike it. So if you see there are a lot of dislikes or a lot of likes or whatever, the next level of analysis that you do is it for everybody, specific set of gender, specific geography and all that, and you get into it. So there are tools which will enable you to do it. You don't have to really do anything manually. You will write codes to get into the sentiment analysis, or you will review it. The bucketization, defining what is good, what is bad, is where you will have to be very smart in terms of identifying it. After which, a lot of it will automatically fall in place with the right code that comes in. That's how it goes into in terms of sentiment or mood, or it's interchangeably used. This is what happens. Anybody else? Any other questions? If there are no more questions, back to the organizing committee for them to take over.
Bhanukumar sir?
Yes, sir.
It's a wonderful input, sir. You spoke with lot many examples. You shared very few slides, but lot of practical examples. You spoke about sentiment analysis, market share, HR data of various aspects, company performance. Thank you for the deliberation, sir. You spoke with a lot of examples. Wonderful, sir. It was a wonderful one.
Thank you, sir.
Dear students, any more questions? Shall we go to the close of the session? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, dear students. Over to the comparing team.
Education is not the learn of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Thanks for your such an insightful and informative knowledge about analytics in business. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Naveen.
Next, I call upon Ms. K. Swati from First MBA to propose the vote of thanks. Over to
Thank you,
Swati.
Naveen. Thank you, Naveen. First and foremost, I would like to thank our resource person of the day, Mr. S. Bhanukumar, Sir, Founder and Director, ARRA. Thank you for your vital time from your busy schedule and for enlightening us with your knowledge, sir. It was really informative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to thank our founder and principal, Dr. P.S.S. Srinivasan, sir, for his continuous support to conduct program like this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next, I would like to thank Dr. P. Suresh Kumar, sir, for his guidance. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our respected director, Dr. A. Stephen, sir, for his continuous motivation and guidance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to thank N.C. Balachandran, sir, Senior Consultant, Placement for Knowledge Institute of Technology and Knowledge Business School. Thank you for participating, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I would like to thank head of various department, faculty members and supporting staffs for making this program a successful one. Thank you. Finally, I thank our budding managers and my fellow friends for your active participation. Thank you, friends. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Swati. Finally, sincerest appreciation and gratitude to everyone for your support and participation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bhanukumar, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Balachandra, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you. Thank you, dear students. We'll close the session.
Bye-bye.
Sir, Seger, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
So you can stop recording, sir.